Welcome to the Preferred Walk-On Show. I'm Seth. He's James. Thank you for hanging with us today. Brother, you texted me this, and I thought it was the greatest synopsis of the weekend and I'm going to paraphrase this, obviously, but what a slate of games Saturday. What an incredible time to be a fan of college football. And if you don't like this sport, I don't know what to tell you, man. It never doesn't deliver, and Saturday start to finish. Also, I got to give you credit where credit's due. It kind of was like just a throwaway exchange between us at the beginning of our preview show last week. But you maybe dropped my favorite quote ever from our show when you said it is a glue your ass to the couch Saturday. I think I may just post that every single Saturday now because I freaking loved it. So anyways, what's up, homie?
Nothing much, man. It's a glorious Monday morning, and it really was. I mean, Obviously, it was a little sour because the Dawgs lost, but to Bama again. But it was just, start to finish, great day. Walk-off kicks, 2 overtime losses. Wake tried to pull off the upset with the going for 2, and getting stopped. Just great football all around. And if you're a fan of football, regardless of what level, it was a great day. If you're a fan of college football, you had to be ecstatic with the day. Even if you're a casual fan, it was just great football all around.
Yeah, incredible theater all Saturday long. Tons to recap. Dude, we're going to start with, and this is going to sound crazy, but after the Notre Dame dump trucking that took place on Saturday afternoon, Sam Pittman was relieved of his duties at Arkansas, so we'll talk about that. Georgia, as you mentioned, upended again by Alabama. We will talk about Georgia's Alabama problem and Kirby and company's struggles with them. Oregon goes into Penn State, thrilling win in Happy Valley. James Franklin's top 10 troubles continue. Like you mentioned, Georgia Tech got taken to the wire by Wake Forest. That game was wild. Indiana got taken to the wire by Iowa, if not for a big-time touchdown from Waffle House, Elijah Surratt. Who knows what happens in that game? Also, if you had that game plus or minus 6.5 on the Indiana side, T's and P's to you, what a brutal way to end that ball game.
No kidding.
Unbelievable. God, man, what else? LSU Ole Miss, great day. The Trinidad Chambliss Disney story continues.
USC
wild.
Illinois. USC Illinois was to start off great game.
Yeah, dude, the Fighting Barges re-announced themselves with a big walk-off win. It was a college kicker situation that worked out great. And then Auburn, Texas A&M with a big win. Auburn went in there and fought and clawed, but had some offensive problems again. God, what other ones am I missing, man? Dude, how can we not talk about or even lead with almost this me, hand up, my fault. But FSU UVA Friday night was probably the game of the week.
Yeah.
No it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was.
And then the field storm of the century.
Yeah, it was great.
Has anyone checked on Squirrel White? Is he okay?
Yeah. That was a lot of people. The TikTok videos on that were hysterical. That game was just cinema. It was beautiful to watch. And what happened to FSU's defense? Did they just go into that game thinking, oh, we're the big bad Seminoles and we're going to walk all over the Cavs? They were able to they scored 38 points. It wasn't like they weren't scoring. Then they were, every time UVA scored, they answered back. But they couldn't stop a nosebleed that Friday night. The Cavs were all over the place.
Yeah, man. Chandler Morris had a phenomenal game. Yeah, it was a weird night. To your point, it just felt like his ability to use his legs really gave them problems. It's one of those things where I'm sure you watch tape on certain guys and you're like, okay, yeah, we got to prepare for this. But then you see it live game speed and it's like, whoa, he's got a little giddy up. And I just think he gave him problems. I don't think they obviously didn't contain him very well at all. He made some big time plays, big time throws. Look, and let's not discount, Tommy C did too. Their offense looked awesome. And I still think this Miami game coming up this weekend is going to be a ton of fun because I still think they have the roster and all the weapons to upend Miami. And in a lot of ways, this was a this was just ripe for something like this to happen because it's a classic look ahead week anyways for Florida State, because you can't, it's not human to not think ahead to the Miami matchup. And to your point, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we're playing UVA. Like if you're FSU, and this is no shot at UVA or UVA fans in any way, but if you're an FSU player or fan, you're kind of going, oh great, play UVA on Friday night. Like who cares, right? Like it's just not, that's not who they're amped up about. And so it just had so many of the classic symptoms of a look ahead. But yeah, incredible game. And look, man, good on the UVA faithful, because that stadium was absolutely nuts all night long. And so cool too, given the 30-year anniversary and all those things. I just thought it was a really, really fun moment, like just such great college football theater. So yeah, that was incredible. And then, dude, not to be discounted, right after that, Arizona State and TCU have a freaking fantastic game. God, man, Josh Hoover, tough night. And you talked about this in the previous show. Arizona State's defense really keeping them afloat. And God, man, they played outstanding Friday night. And so Big 12 is super spicy. The top of that conference is looking so interesting. Iowa State absolutely bludgeoned Arizona after we were both very worried about the Cyclones offense, and they came out and answered all those criticisms very swiftly. I mean, they were out hot, and impressive win for the Cyclones and Rocco Beck and company. Well, let's talk about Sam first, because I do think it's interesting in a lot of ways, right? Sam Pittman relieved of his duties. Tough start to the year for Arkansas. 2 last-second losses, essentially, on fumbles, and then you host Notre Dame with kind of an opportunity, I feel like, to rectify some things, and you just get absolutely dump trucked from pillar to post, start to finish. Like, what was it, 42-10 at halftime or something like that?
35-10, and then they scored right at the beginning of the second half to make it 42.
Man, I mean, it just at no point was competitive. And yeah, so you can't blame the university for moving on. I think they obviously want more, and I'm sure Coach Pittman wanted more, right? And I think everybody across college football is sad about it because everybody loves Sam Pittman. But I think the bigger wrinkle in this story is not Sam getting let go, but it's the fact that, dude, Bobby Petrino is once again the head coach at Arkansas.
Yeah,
given everything that happened with him. Like, dude, I don't see him that I don't immediately think of him in a neck brace with his face all busted up. Like, that is literally what I think of when I see Bobby Petrino. And so the fact that he's the interim coach, and apparently I have no backing or basis on this, but I have read from multiple places that behind the scenes he was kind of angling and lobbying to, get to this spot, right? All that's just kind of weird, makes you feel a little bit gross. But yeah, so, and I think he will be very much in the mix for what they end up doing from a head coaching position. Rhett Lashley's been talked about a ton as one of the potential folks to take over. So we'll see. I think that's an interesting job. Let me ask you this. High do you think that ceiling is? I know, I think if you're going to talk about Arkansas being competitive in the modern age, obviously you go to like the Darren McFadden days, right? And Felix Jones and all that, Peyton Hillis and that crew. But I'm just interested, like what is a realistic expectation for that program and for Arkansas fans? What is success?
See, in the modern age, they could definitely pull a Texas Tech type haul from the portal and compete, but it's season to season. They're not going to be a consistent threat in the conference. They're just not, because they're not going to get the recruiting classes from high school to compete consistently. So, but they could definitely pull a portal class here and there that makes them competitive a season here, a season there, and who knows what happens. So I think, but you have to have the right coaches in play to make that happen. And I'm sorry, Petrino's not it. He's just not.
No, I agree with that. I don't know how any serious program in America could put him out front as the leader of their program, given his past. Dude, how do you trust a guy like that? That's my thing with him, is how do you convince young men to go there to like build their future? I don't know. That's a weird thing for me. I think it would be a huge mistake to have him take over that program. I don't think it'll happen. I think there's going to be enough people with enough influence that are like, this can't happen. Like, he can't be the pick. So, but it'll be interesting. You do bring up a good point. That's an excellent point about Texas Tech. They've certainly got folks in the alumni base where if they were organized and built the money up, they could spend, right? And so they could add talent and build a roster. That's a really good point. Yeah, I didn't really think about that. That's an excellent point. So yeah, so that's interesting. Certainly sad to see Sam go from the Georgia lens. There's an offensive analyst spot waiting for you in Athens whenever you want, Coach. So if you need to take a couple weeks and then make your way to Classic City, there are people on this podcast that would not be upset about that.
I completely agree with that, and I texted you that as well. But part of me really feels like I hope he just retires at this point. I mean, he's done. I mean, how old is he now? He's in his 60s. So, I mean, you've had a long career. Do you really want to go back to a position coach? And do you really want to go back to a position coach under Kirby at your age? Well, I mean, let's be realistic. So, I mean, I love Sam, and I would be happy to have him back. Don't get me wrong. But loving Sam as a coach and, like, really enjoying him as the man, I hope he retires and just enjoy it the rest of his life.
I would love to see him I'd love to see him on my television.
Oh, no, exactly. Like, I would too. But I feel like that's me being selfish. So,
but I mean, like, get him on a pregame show or something. Like, can we get a cold beer segment with Sam?
Well, that'd be great.
Like, send Sam out to the tailgates and let's get some yes sirs and like some cold beer comments and all these. Like, that's what I need. That's the television that I would tune in for.
I'd be all here for it.
Yeah, I would be in on that. All right, well, let's talk about. All right, let's do Athens first. Let's do Alabama, Georgia, and then we'll do Oregon, Penn State. Obviously, two monster games, dude. First and foremost, Sanford looked absolutely awesome Saturday night. I thought the broadcast did a really cool job of showcasing that atmosphere. I kept thinking, gosh, this is such an outstanding commercial for the University of Georgia, and I'm sure applications will continue to roll in as I was watching that. I also love that Brooke Whitmire kind of got like 15 to 30 seconds where you could hear him, like, and the opening when they came out. I thought that was cool. They kind of let that breathe. So that was cool. And shout out to Brooke, DGD. So yeah, let's just start with that. And then this is where I sit with it. And this is where I can't understand it. And this is less from the Georgia lens and just more from a college football lens too, or even just a football lens is, man, this is the second year in a row that Georgia has had a bye going into this football game and came out in the first quarter and looked completely unprepared. And how can that happen? You can kind of more understand it last year because you go into a hostile environment and you get blitzed a little bit and the kids kind of get on tilt, and maybe you can explain that away. Maybe I can understand that a little better, but you're talking about, man, you're at home. Like, it's your environment. There's 93,000 people behind you, and you still come out for the first 15 minutes and look pretty much incompetent. So that's one thing. The other thing is just zero ability to get off the field on third down for Georgia's defense. And I thought Alabama had an excellent game plan offensively all night. They just looked like they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they executed it all night long. So credit to Kalen Bohr, Ryan Grubbs, and that staff for setting all that up, because, boy, they did an excellent job. And the other thing I took away too, man, was how cool and calm and collected did Ty Simpson look all night. I mean, completely unfazed by that atmosphere and really just locked in, man. I mean, he was very, very impressive. I have many, many other thoughts on it too. We got to talk about the 4th and inches deal, kind of with all that. Kirby came out and said, oh, yes, it's what we practice. It's sequencing. We decided if we made a gain, we're going to immediately go for it on 4th. And okay, man, that's fine. But I do think, given the situation, you got to have some type of, even if they had to call a timeout, you got to check that spot. I will never understand that. Everybody's gotten really focused on A, not kicking the field goal, and B, the play going to Cash Jones. And I can't get past not checking the spot because it looked like Gunner got the first on the third down play. And so, anyways, it was not a great coaching night for the Georgia coaching staff, in my opinion. I'm going to stop talking now. What were your thoughts on everything? I know you have lots of thoughts too.
So I read that in the last two games, Georgia's given up 54 points in the first half to Alabama.
Whew.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is being out schemed. That's being out coached. And I don't understand it. It's not a Jimmy's and Joe's thing. There's talent along the board for both of those teams, offensively, defensively. And it shouldn't happen, especially with 2 weeks to prepare. So is Kalen DeBoer and his staff they're just out coaching Kirby and Glenn Schumann. They just are when it comes to these games. So the problem with Kalen DeBoer and his staff is, can they do it when they're not playing Georgia or the Georgias of the world? Can they do it when they are, playing last season it was Oklahoma or in Vanderbilt and stuff like that? Can they do it when they're getting up for a team that's, with a pulse? So my thought with it is, Georgia is always having to adjust on the fly, but they constantly, it's like they come out, it's almost like they're coming out in a base defense and they're like, our base defense is good enough to win these games. And it's just not. It's like the Tennessee game. It's like they come out here and they're like, we're just going to play base and we got to adjust on the fly to see what the other team's going to do. When did we become that team? It's because do we just not trust our talent? Maybe it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I've got.
Were you surprised? Were you surprised with Georgia's inability to get pressure all night too? I mean, look. Let's caveat this, and this is. I want to be very clear. This is in no way making any excuses, and I also thought the officials, from a let them play standpoint, did a pretty nice job all night. It was a pretty physical game. I thought they were not super whistle heavy. And I would much rather it be on that end of the spectrum than the other end where it's like a ref show and it's a flag every 10 minutes. But I will say there were some certain instances, and I was texting with you about it. I was like, dude, like, you can't tackle the guy. Like, that's holding at some point. And so, but even with that, right, dude, Georgia did not get any pressure. I mean, did Ty Simpson get sacked all night? I don't think he did.
No. I'm not even sure he got knocked down.
Yeah.
Like, his jersey was clean.
Yeah.
But I mean, we going into the season, we thought this was going to be a problem. We lost all of our DNs. When we looked at the roster, we were like, who's our DNs? Where's our edge pressure coming from? We lost it all. And we didn't. And I think when we looked at the roster, we're like, we only have 2 true DNs on this roster. So we're having to move D tackles and linebackers into those positions for like depth. We don't really have, and I'm not, this isn't a knock on the guys, but it's not like those were really high recruits that are at those positions, which is shocked because it's like the last couple DNs we've had, Mike Hell and stuff, high draft picks. Last couple edge linebackers we've had, high draft picks. So why aren't we getting those guys in the recruits? Is it just the NIL, or is it just because people don't want to play for Kirby because he demands much? Why aren't those guys coming to Georgia anymore?
I kept thinking Saturday night. I was like, man, be nice to have Damon Wilson on that roster right now.
Yeah.
Like, that was I still don't quite understand that. There had to be some breakdown in negotiations, obviously, because he would have played a ton. And you have to think the platform to jump to the league is better at Georgia. But, I mean, good on Mizzou for going out and grabbing him. And they're obviously having a really good year, and he's a big part of that. But, gosh, man, that's a big loss on the Georgia side. Yeah, man, and look, on the Alabama side, I thought they just did a nice job. I thought the offensive game planning all night was really good. They just had an answer for everything all night. And what were they, 13 and 19 on third down? I think 13. Somebody Cole Kubick tweeted that 13 third down conversions is the most in a Georgia game in 30 years or something like that. I mean, astounding statistic. And then it was also a bizarre game, right? Like, Alabama comes out super hot. They go up 14-0. Georgia answers to go 14-7. And then Nate Frazier fumbles inside the 20. Alabama gets a field goal. Georgia's defense does a nice job, holds them to the field goal. And then I thought, and it felt big when it happened, I thought Alabama's drive before the half was surgical. And it just kind of turned the tide. I felt like no pun intended, I felt like if Georgia had gone in there 17-14, you're kind of like, man, how did they get out of that half only down 3 points? And it almost feels like a victory. And so for Alabama to get that touchdown and go up 10 there was just, dude, it was enormous. And what they score on the, was that like was the play they scored on that like little wide receiver screen?
No, Ty Simpson, wasn't that the one Ty Simpson ran in?
Well, that's right. I'm thinking about something else. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because he did the quiet crowd thing. That's right. That's exactly right. But again, that drive they couldn't get him off field. Couldn't get him off field on third down. I had many opportunities to do so and couldn't do it. And then Alabama was shut out in the second half, still win the football game. Georgia only scores 7 points in the second half, and that's the ball game. And so bizarre game, I felt like, because there was so much back and forth in that.
Let's go back to that. Yes, Georgia shut them out the second half, but let's not act like Georgia only had 3 possessions in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, because Alabama got the ball to start the second half, and
then Georgia scored, then the turnover on downs, then the punt. That's it.
Yep.
Like they still possessed the ball a lot. They were able to move the ball.
No, they had 2 punts because remember they stopped. Alabama had the turnover and downs, and Georgia goes 3 and out. That was the Talon.
Oh, that's
drive.
right, the Talon Taylor. Okay,
yeah. But still, it was the time of possession was still lopsided. It's not like Georgia was on the field a ton, but yeah, I mean they had 4 offensive possessions. They scored once. That was essentially it. And then the other thing is, yes, they shut Alabama out, but when you needed a stop at the end of the game, you can't get it to try to get your offense one more bite at the apple, which again, I don't want to jump on the defense too much because they did enough in the second half where, I mean, dude, they didn't go up any points. So I don't know what else they're supposed to do. They had a huge stop on the 4th down play, and the crowd played into that where Alabama looked very off kilter. That was the one time all night they kind of looked like a fire drill.
I have no idea what that play was supposed to be. I still don't.
Something happened there. That operation never looked right. They should have called timeout. That operation never looked right. They never should have snapped that. It was that whole thing looked weird. And then, yeah, God, Taylor catches that ball. Who knows what happens? That was tough. But let's talk about the 4th inches thing real quick, because I am interested in your opinion on this. Why do you not try to get the spot challenge there, right? Like, it was close. I even thought on television it was close without any of the replays. I was like, oh, God, I think they got the first down. So it just felt like malpractice not to challenge that.
That's part of the problem when you make the decision beforehand when you make the decision before the 3rd down play, this is what we're going to do, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
So it was like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is what we're doing beforehand. And it wasn't like per Kirby. It wasn't if we get 3 yards, we're going for it to 4th and 1. It's like if we get a yard, this is what we're doing for.
Yeah.
If we don't lose yardage, we're going for it on 4th and 4 or less. I think that's a bigger tell than anything else, because I don't think you go for it on 4th and 4.
No, absolutely not. If it was 4th and 4 and they hadn't kicked the field goal, that's malpractice.
And I think he's lying there. Like I think that's what I think he's being disingenuous there. I don't think I don't think you go for it on 4th and 4.
I thought a lot of that answer was disingenuous. Like, first off, man, if that's the case, right? If we're gonna buy the whole sequencing thing, then you can't have Cash Jones in on 3rd down. You just can't.
You can't.
Because if then the next play sequentially is going to be the play that they ran, then it can't be to Cash. And so,
but you can't have McCray in there either for that particular play because McCray's not fast enough to beat somebody to the outside. You have to have Peanut or Bowens in, or Nate even. I mean, you have to have one of your.
I was going to say, let's not forget about Nate. I did think it was interesting that after the fumble, he did not see the field the rest of the game, which is crazy to me. And look, I get it.
I don't.
Chauncey was having an
If
outstanding
Chauncey
night, so I
had
would have
not been
had
having if he had not been having the game that he had been having, I think Nate would have seen the field. But you can't take Chauncey out based off the game he's had.
Yeah, Chauncey was a revelation. I mean, he was outstanding and good for him. But that was kind of my thing, though, is that if we're going, this is a 2-play package. We got third down play, and then we're going to go on fourth. If we get any yardage, you have to have Chauncey in the game. He's been your best back, and he can catch it out of the backfield. He caught passes Saturday night, and so like I didn't understand any of that. I thought, and I also just, and man, look, this is. We love Kirby Paul Smart. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And this is, everybody has their moments, but I thought he kind of hid from it post game too. Like at some point you got to say, yeah, man, we screwed it up. And they didn't. And that bothered me because everybody knows they screwed it up. You got to take some kind of ownership on that. Like, yeah, we probably would have done something different. He's like, we go for it on fourth down 10 out of 10 times there. Okay. Well, I don't know, man. It's just, obviously, hindsight's 20/20, but nothing about that made a lot of sense to me. So, yeah, huge win for Alabama and kind of course corrects their season in a lot of ways. And now, man, they still have, they have a meat grinder of a schedule. Like if you look out where they are, if they get Oklahoma with a healthy John Mateer, they got a tough path. They got to play a lot of people, but they're back in the race, man. We had talked about both teams having stuff in front of them, even if they lost Saturday night. And I think you brought up that, yes, Alabama would, but their road would be a lot harder. And so huge win for them and their program to do it on the road. Like, yeah, massive. So they're in it, man. They're very, very much in it. And on the Georgia side, they got a whole lot of things they got to correct, especially defensively. Another super, super mediocre night for their secondary too. So yeah, they got things they got to work on. All right, let's talk Oregon-Penn State. Unbelievable football game. One of these games where like it was funny. I kept thinking, I was like, God, this game's kind of been dull. Like, what was it, 3-3 at halftime? Oregon finally punches one in after they get the gift of all gifts. I mean, it was the right call, but still, they fumble driving in. Penn State recovers, and then replay overturns it because he was down already.
Well, they were up 10-3 at that point. They were up 10-3 at that point. That was their second touchdown.
Well, that would have made it 17-3? Or that did make it 17-3?
That did make it 17-3.
And then Penn State hit the big play to make it 17-10.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, that fourth quarter it got drunk very quickly.
Yeah. Well, the whole game felt kind of like a boxing match. It's like, but the first half was like jab, just all jabs. Just all jabs. And then the second half was like the fourth quarter was just like haymakers. So, and look, you know how I feel about Drew Aller, and we've been very critical of him. Until the fourth quarter, he was every single thing that we thought. But let's be realistic. The throws that he made in the fourth quarter, they were down, but they weren't in tough spots, and the receivers were open. They got behind the defense. Both touchdowns, all the big plays, they were open. So it's not like he had to drop it in the bucket or anything like that. He just had to hit the open receiver. So everybody's talking about how great he is, and it's like I still don't see it. Like, why is this guy still being talked about in the same way? I don't know. They just fell in love with his size, his measurables, but. And then you get in the second half, that last 7 minutes felt like Oregon's defense was on the field for the entire 7 minutes. And I mean, then Penn State gets the ball first and they score on the first play because Oregon's defense just was gassed. So
I thought Dan had a great quote at halftime. They asked him about the game, whatever. And he's like, look, we just keep taking cuts. We cut them. Eventually we're going to hit an artery. And that kind of perfectly explains what you said, right? They were just kind of like jab, 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 and you're like trying to hit the knockout. And finally things kind of opened up in that second half, but huge win for Oregon. And Dante Moore, I thought, was really, really good, man. Like really, really good. The way their roster constructed is good for a Dan team, I feel like. And I like him more and more and more every time I see him. I mean, he was so jacked up Saturday night for that game. And like, it has to be infectious in your locker room. And it's interesting, man. I was thinking this during the Georgia game, and I've thought it the past couple of seasons. Kirby has been less that way, right? Like, just he's been a lot more, I feel like, even than he has in the past, which has been interesting. Dan is not that. Like, he is a raw nerve at all times, and I am absolutely here for it. I think
it's
this
because
is
of
the
their
other thing.
age?
Yeah, I do think that absolutely plays into it. 100%, I think that plays into it. I also think just stage in life, like Kirby's kids are getting older. I just think you mellow out a little bit. And yeah, I think all that's part of it for sure. Yeah, man, here's the thing with Penn State. I agree with you. It's not like I saw anything Saturday night that makes you go, oh, wait, we were wrong about Drew Aller. It's like, no, everybody was exactly right about Drew Aller. He's just okay. And I mean, what, they still got Ohio State? They are not going to beat Ohio State.
And they got Indiana.
Yeah, dude, they could go 9-3. Like, first off, let's talk about this too, because I was wrong. And I am going to be the first one to admit I was wrong. That Ohio State defense is a problem, dude. A problem. And Matt Patricia has been outstanding using the toolkit that he has on that defense. I mean, Damon Williams is a weapon, and I think he's like Weapon X. Like, he's phenomenal. And I was thinking Saturday, I tweeted this. He reminds me the way he moves and throws at Kyler Murray. I mean, he has a live arm and made some outstanding throws in that football game Saturday. They just couldn't get over the hump because that Ohio State defense is overwhelming. I mean, they were phenomenal. And I kept thinking, watching, I'm like, man, you got to have a really dynamic offense and a really good game plan if you're going to score points on this defense, which, let's flip that, right? What does that do to Ohio State's offense? Doesn't it really take the pressure off? Because I don't think you feel super tense about, hey, man, if we don't score immediately or if we don't score a ton of points, we're not going to win. So I think it just gives you an ability to be really patient offensively and schematically, which I think for Julian Sayin is a good thing, right? Because he's young, not a ton of starts, and they kind of can get his feet under him a little bit. So I just have a very different, I think, viewpoint on them after watching that football game because I do think Damon Williams is real, right? They just did a really nice job of neutralizing them. So I was very impressed. And to go to the West Coast, go to Husky Stadium and get a win like that, dude. And I think that win is going to look better as the season goes on because I think Washington is going to be a really good football team the rest of the season.
That game was weird. I don't really have another word for it because they didn't put a ton of pressure on Williams like immediately. Like most of the sacks that they had were coverage sacks because
100%.
he would sit back and he'd have 3-4 seconds and then finally he would try to scramble, but the pocket would have collapsed on him at that point. There was just nobody getting open. That secondary just blanketed everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought the offensive line for the Huskies like held up really well against the defensive line. I thought they ran the ball okay. Nobody could get open. And I mean, he was thrown into some tight windows all day.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the Ohio State offense a little bit because other than, when they're playing like the smaller schools, the Ohio State offense has just been okay.
True. Yeah,
and
true.
If they get a game where the defense has an off day, what then? Are they just going to be able to turn it on?
Yeah.
I'm not so sure because it's just, it hasn't been there. Are they just working out the kinks? It's good to work out kinks against good teams, but at some point you have to deliver. I think I saw a stat that they're averaging everybody talks about the defense. They're giving up like 5.5 points a game, but against non-FCS opponents, I think they're only averaging like 19 points a game. So it's not like their offense is lighting it up against better competition either. So that might come to bite them later on in the season.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will say too, that game may have looked different if Washington could have capitalized on some of their first quarter opportunities.
Yeah.
I thought they had some chances where they could have put some points on the board and just didn't do it. And yeah, I think you're right. I think that looks different if maybe they had gotten up 10-0 or something like that. Yeah, I think that's very valid. I do think the way Ohio State is constructed is to play good defense, not get behind. I don't think that offense currently is built to chase. I don't. I think you're right about that. With that defense, they may not have to, is the thing. God, man, they're tough. They're really, really tough. So yeah, I was very impressed with Ohio State. I think that's a good win. And again, like I said, I think that win's going to look better as the season goes on. Let's talk about LSU Ole Miss, and then we'll wrap it up. But let's talk about that one. I think that was a huge win for Ole Miss. I think in years past, that's a game Lane would have figured out a way to do something to lose. Yeah. And to go in and kind of stay the course and be steady. And Trinidad Chambliss was fantastic again, which, dude, his story just gets more and more compelling as the week goes on. And I think given how they have looked defensively, man, they could be a real player in this thing if they can stay healthy. I think given how they have looked, if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan, that matchup when the Rebels come to Athens has gotten a whole lot more nerve-wracking, especially given Chambliss's profile and his ability to run and throw. I mean, they are going to give that Georgia defense all they want between the hedges. So, yeah, man, they're fascinating to me. And, dude, Brian Kelly's postgame press conference, he just rubs me all the wrong way. Like, I don't know, man. Like, he just seems like a turd, doesn't he?
I saw a TikTok from one of my favorite accounts who's called Brian Kelly, said that he is the white James Franklin. And I could not sum it up better. Like, he's done nothing. He chokes against big teams, and he's just a dick. So, like, come on. You don't take it on yourself. You throw your quarterback under the bus. You throw your offense under the bus.
Yep.
Come on. I mean, really? I can't stand Brian Kelly. Like, I think he's on borrowed time there. So if they could afford the buyout, he'd be gone like tomorrow. It's just that offense looks so disjointed compared to last season. And they got more talent this year, which makes no sense to me. They can't run the ball. And Nuss looks uncomfortable. Like, let's just say it for what it is. Isn't it funny that all of the quarterbacks that came back this year, and even last year, let's go back to the quarterbacks that came back last year instead of going to the draft, the ones who were experienced, all regressed. Like, look at the ones who were supposed to be the front runners last year. None of those quarterbacks were the ones who were the front runners. And then the same thing this year. Look at Nuss. Look at Aller. They all look uncomfortable. They're just, what is going on with college football where the experienced quarterbacks who have great junior, redshirt, senior years or whatever, then they come back for their fifth year and they just look uncomfortable.
Dude, I think it's the money. I 100% think it's the money. Because with the money
comes the more pressure.
Comes a different type of expectation and pressure. And you're asking 19, 20-year-old kids to handle all that and just be the same, right? And it's just, dude, it's a lot. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think you bring up a great point, is you now have, look, I think if you're the quarterback of a major college program, it's already immense expectation and pressure. But then you add the dynamic of, I'm getting paid now, and there are expectations that are coming along with that form of payment. Dude, it's a lot. And I also think, too, that they are also probably siloed more than they've ever been, meaning it's like they're at the football facility and they go home. And I don't know how healthy that is, to be honest, socially. Like, I think there is some benefit to being out and about and like part of the community. And they just can't be because of the age we live in with social media and all these things. And so, dude, I just think it's tough. I think mentally it's tough for a lot of these kids to carry all that and then to perform how everybody's expecting them, how they're quote unquote supposed to perform. So I do think that's a big piece of that puzzle. I think if people don't acknowledge that that's part of the Arch story, I think they're crazy too, even given his lineage, right? Where if you think there's anybody that could have been more prepared for it, it would be him. But dude, it's a tough exercise. And so Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. And then you have other kids who haven't had that are just kind of letting it rip. You know, the one probably exception to that rule so far has been freaking Diego Pavia. Like,
Yeah.
I think that dude just welcomes attention. Like, it doesn't faze him at all. And man, that is an interesting matchup with them going to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama. Game day going to be there for it, which how laugh out loud funny is that? Like, we live in a world now in college football where game day is going to a game in Alabama, not necessarily because of the Tide, but because of who they're playing.
Yeah, because of
And it's
Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Hey, I'm
Like,
here
it's
for
great.
it, man. I'm here for
Me
it.
too. I think it's awesome, man. It's part of the beauty and theater, I think, of this sport right now. And I think for all the things that folks don't like about the transfer portal, don't like about NIL, you can't argue with how much more balanced it's made these rosters across the country. And I think because of that, week to week, you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, there just isn't the roster depth that there used to be. And so I just think it's much more akin to, I would say, probably the college basketball tournament where you just don't know, right? Like, anybody could beat anybody. That's what it feels like now in college football. And so it's wild, man. And like, if you're a spectator and a fan of the sport, you've got to enjoy that because you just don't know what's going to happen. Like, I'll give you an example. I was looking out for our preview show, like at the games for this coming week. And if you're just looking at numbers beside teams, it's not a super sexy week.
It's not a sexy week, yeah.
No, there's no games where you're going, my God, like this game's going to be incredible. Or there's no like Oregon-Penn State. There's no Georgia. There's none of that, right? But I kept looking at it and I was going, this is going to be chaos, is what this board tells me. Like, Saturday is going to be chaos. So I can't wait. I think there's going to be things that happen Saturday because of these games that are going to be bananas. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I can't wait to preview it with you later in the week. So yeah, man. What a awesome weekend of football. Like I said, I thought you summed it up best. Like, what a fantastic sport. We just love it, man. So yeah, we will recap, or we will preview things later in the week. Gosh, man, September's over already. It kind of makes me sad. Like, we're already essentially like a third of the way through this thing, which is, I hate it.
Quick.
I know, it's going by quick. Well, all right. Well, we will be back later in the week to preview week 6. And until then, have a great week, guys, and kiss your nooch.